On April the 5th, 2026, a 29-year-old woman from the Netherlands posted a video on Instagram. She sat alone in front of a camera and she said that she had just been retired, not by choice, but because she was no longer allowed to compete. Her name is noa-lynn van Leuven. She had won 6 titles on the PDC Women's Series. She was the first transgender woman to play at the World Darts Championship. That morning, the Darts Regulation Authority published a new eligibility policy that banned every transgender woman from competing in women's tournaments, effective immediately. No transition period, no warning, no phone call, just a policy document on a website. This is the story of a woman who was told she belonged, then told she did not, and who was never given the chance to argue her case. noa-lynn van Leuven was born in the Netherlands on September 27, 1996. At 16, she began to question everything she had been told about herself. The pressure built quietly, year after year, until the weight of expectation became too much to carry. Depression nearly ended her story before it truly began. Darts was her escape, a game of precision, nerves, and calculation, where the board never cared who you were, only what you could do. Her transition began in her mid-20s, first privately, then publicly in 2023. She told PA News, "My transition has been a journey of self-acceptance, and I am here to prove that sport can be inclusive. My mental health is stronger than ever because I finally live as my authentic self." The world of darts, often slow to change, watched as she stepped onto the PDC Women's Series circuit. For a while, it seemed she was simply another competitor, judged by her averages, not her past. noa-lynn did not just compete, she dominated. 6 PDC Women's Series titles, each one earned under the same rules as her peers. In April 2025, she swept back-to-back events in Rosmalen, a streak that silenced any doubt about her skill. Her 109.64 average against Beau Greaves in the 2024 Women's Series final remains the highest ever recorded in a women's event. That number, 109.64, became shorthand for something undeniable. She belonged at the top. She qualified for the PDC World Darts Championship not once but twice, becoming the first transgender woman to play on the Alexandra Palace stage. In 2025, she reached the semi-final of the Women's World Match Play, beating the best before falling to Greaves. With every match, she built a record that could not be dismissed. noa-lynn van Leuven was not a controversy, she was a competitor, and she had every reason to believe that her place in the sport was secure until the morning it was ended with a PDF. Darts, for all its old world roots, had never seen a figure quite like noa-lynn van Leuven. But she didn't rise alone. The sport's brightest stars, those with the loudest voices and the biggest stages, stood with her, not in quiet back rooms, but out in the open, where it mattered most. Humphries, reigning world champion, went on record in a March 2024 Sky Sports interview. noa-lynn has earned her place in the Women's Series on merit alone. She belongs on the stage with the rest of us. It wasn't a cautious endorsement. It was a public statement, aired to millions, at a time when the debate around inclusion was already heating up. Michael van Gerwen, 3-time world champion, and the sport's most recognizable face, didn't hesitate either. In June 2024, he posted a clip from the Women's Series final to his Instagram story. The caption read, "She fought hard to get here, and the sport should welcome her like any other competitor." When pressed by reporters ahead of the 2025 World Match Play, van Gerwen answered flatly, "My focus is on darts, not politics. But I believe talent should be judged on performance, not on who you are." Their support wasn't limited to interviews. Van Leuven's image appeared in official PDC Women's Series graphics, her name woven into promotional hashtags and tournament recaps. The sport's own marketing machine positioned her as a symbol of progress, proof that darts could be both traditional and inclusive. that excellence could speak louder than argument. She was featured in highlight reels, tagged in campaign posts, and cited as evidence that the women's series was a stage for the best, regardless of background. For a brief window, the message was clear. Van Leuven was not just allowed, she was celebrated. The endorsements from Humphries and Van Gerwen didn't just reflect personal respect. They signaled to fans, sponsors, and organisers that her presence was an asset. The sport benefited from her story, her records, her resilience. In every sense that mattered, she had been welcomed. And then, just as quickly, the messaging would vanish. But in those months before the silence, dart's biggest names had drawn the line. Inclusion was not a threat, it was the headline. At exactly midnight, Coordinated Universal Time on April 5, 2026, the Darts Regulation Authority uploaded a new PDF to its official website. The file's HTTP last modified header, stamped to the second, left no doubt. The policy was live, effective immediately. No warning, no transition period, just a sudden line drawn in digital ink. The upload was precise and immediate. The language was clinical, almost cold. The policy said eligibility for women's tournaments is restricted to players assigned female at birth. That phrase, assigned female at birth, became the dividing wall. The document cited a single authority, Dr Emma Hilton, whose report in 2025 for the DRERA argued that darts is a gender-affected sport under Section 195 of the Equality Act. The policy quoted Hilton's finding that even in a game of precision, the sum of small physiological differences, grip strength, fine motor control, visual spatial processing, justified a biological sex criterion. The PDF left no loopholes. Noa-lynn Van Leuven and any player not meeting the new definition was ineligible for every women's event regulated by the DRA. The rule was not a proposal or a discussion. It was a fact, effective from the first second of April 5th. The DRA's process was precise, unyielding, and absolute. Within minutes, the same message echoed across every DRA channel. By 1 minute after midnight, an HTML press release repeated the policy's wording, and its meta tag timestamp matched April 5th, 2026 at midnight. By 3 minutes after midnight, the DRA's Twitter account posted the headline, "New Eligibility Policy. Only players assigned female at birth may compete in women's events." Facebook and Instagram followed, all referencing the same PDF and the same instant enforcement. There was no separate email to Noa-lynn, no call, no meeting, no personal explanation. The first outreach to players and federations came 20 minutes later, after the world had already seen the news. In the end, it was not a conversation, it was a document. A single file uploaded at midnight that decided who belonged and who did not. The human consequences would come later. For now, the only communication was a PDF and a clock ticking past zero. Silence took hold in the hours after the policy went live. No phone call, no email, not a single message from the Darts Regulation Authority or the PDC. The only communication was a PDF and a clock. The FOI logs, released days later, show the first stakeholder emails, leaving the DRA's server at 12:20 AM, 20 minutes after the world already knew. For Noa-lynn Van Leuven, there was no warning, no explanation, no moment to prepare. The official record confirms it. No direct outreach, no private notice, just a public edict delivered to everyone at once. The silence was not just procedural, it was personal. The DRA's own response to a Dutch Federation inquiry, logged as FOI 2026-0407, reads simply, "No direct contact was made. The policy was applied uniformly on the 5th of April. The message was clear, policy first, people second." But Noa-lynn refused to disappear quietly. Within minutes, she recorded an Instagram video. Her words landed with the weight of finality. "Apparently, I just got retired, not by choice, because I'm no longer allowed to compete. The video reached over 1 million viewers in a matter of hours, and it was picked up by newswires before sunrise. In her caption, she quoted the DRA's own press release, then added her own line: "This isn't the end. I'm going back to the drawing board." That promise was not empty. On April 18th, her solicitor Leah Morris filed an injunction in the High Court, case HR 2026-0432, seeking to halt the policy's immediate enforcement. The claim demanded more than a pause. It asked for disclosure of the scientific and legal basis behind the ban, and for a duty of care that had so clearly failed. Legal experts weighed in across the media, debating Section 195 of the Equality Act and the precedent set by the WDF ban months earlier. But for Van Leuven, the fight was no longer about theory. It was about being heard in a system that had chosen not to speak. Her final line in that first video has become a refrain: "I'm not done fighting." The silence from the sports institutions remains. But now the contest is not just on the Oche, it is in the courts, in the press, and in the question of what any athlete is owed when the rules change overnight. Record-breaking champion, 6 women's series titles, the first transgender woman on dart's biggest stage. Her career ended not by defeat, but with a PDF file. The question is not who belongs in women's sport. It is how institutions decide when someone stops being a competitor and starts being a controversy. What would you call fairness?